Hare Krishna, everybody. A warm welcome to our online session. Our previous sessions were offline in the temple, but due to some reasons, we have switched over to the online mode. Now, we have covered Bhagavad Gita's introduction and we have covered chapter number 1, and we are on to chapter number 2. And in chapter number 2, we have covered up to verse number 37. So now we will begin from in this session, we're going to cover verse number 38 to 53. Just a brief recap on what we did so far. Um, in the chapter number 2, from verse 1 to 10, we find a continuation of Arjuna's lamentation. We also find that Arjuna has finally decided that he could not solve his own problems. He has to take shelter of a spiritual master. So he surrenders on to Lord Krishna, makes him his spiritual master, and Krishna in turn starts his discourse from verse number 11. So Krishna starts speaking from 11 to verse number 30. Lord Krishna speaks Sankhya Yoga, or you can also call it Jnana Yoga, because basically Lord Krishna is giving jnana or knowledge of matter and spirit, body and soul. Sankhya basically means analysis, and when you analyze matter and spirit, it's Sankhya Yoga. So Lord Krishna says that soul is permanent, imperishable, cannot be killed, but the body dies. And therefore, through each of these statements, what Krishna is doing is he's cutting off Arjuna's previous reasons, the 5 reasons Arjuna had given, remember, on why he could not fight. One reason was that he was feeling compassion for the people across the enemy side, because he saw that his grandfather was there, his teacher was there. He could not bring himself to kill them. So, cutting off that argument, Lord Krishna says, you know what? We are all souls. You're all souls. You're not the bodies. You've had many bodies before. You will have new bodies in the future. Essentially, your soul. And Bhishma is soul. Dronacharya is soul, and you cannot kill soul. Soul cannot be killed. So, as souls, they will remain. As bodies, they will die. If you don't kill, somebody else will kill, or eventually they will all die. So, soul is permanent. So, Krishna is kind of cutting off that argument. The second argument Arjuna gave was that he will incur sin if he kills his own family members. Again, Lord Krishna says, you know what? You will get sin if you do not kill, because as a Kshatriya, it's your prime duty to fight a religious war. If you run away from the battlefield, that will be sin. You are shirking from your duty, and that is sin. And from verse number 31 to 37, Lord Krishna explains Sakam Karma. And while doing that, he's cutting off the third argument of Arjuna, where he says that I will not be able to enjoy the kingdom even if I win. Lord Krishna says, when you do your prescribed duty as per the Shastra, we are all supposed to do our duty. And when you do your duty, you get the results of that duty. Therefore, it's called Sakam Karma, duty, fruitive activities. There's a fruit, there's a phal at the end. You do your duty, you get the result of that duty, you enjoy the result of that duty. In this case, as a Kshatriya, there are two outcomes. Either you win or you lose. Losing in a battle means you get killed. What happens when you get killed? You immediately go to the heaven and you enjoy the heavenly opulences, in which case you will enjoy. If you win the battle, you will enjoy the earthly kingdom. So, in both ways, it's a win win situation. So, there's no cause for a doubt or worry or lamentation. And then, moving on from verse number 38, Lord Krishna speaks of a higher principle. So, sakam karma or fruitive activity is a lower principle. You do some karma, you get to enjoy the result of that karma. The Vedas are full of fruitive activities, how to do certain activity in certain yajna and to get the fruits of that activities. But now Krishna has moved his argument or moved his principle higher. Now he is going to speak about Nishkam Karma Yoga. We start with Srila Prabhupada's Pranati Mantra. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा. So this is the overview of the second chapter. There are basically 5 sections. We've covered 3. We are on to the 4th section, which basically talks about Buddhi Yoga. The word Buddhi Yoga is kind of confusing to many people, misunderstood. Basically, as you know, Buddhi means intelligence, and Buddhi Yoga would mean yoga of intelligence. You have heard of Jnana Yoga, you've heard of Karma Yoga, you've heard of Ashtanga Yoga, you've heard of Bhakti Yoga, but this term may be new to you, Buddhi Yoga. I would like to say at this point that in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna uses the term Buddhi Yoga often, and the meaning of Buddhi Yoga depends on the context at which it is used. In this context, Buddhi Yoga can mean Karma Yoga. In this context, Buddhi Yoga also can mean Bhakti Yoga. Well, it's confusing, isn't it? Well, bear with me, we will discuss that further and you will understand it. So, Buddhi Yoga or Nishkam Karma Yoga, and working with knowledge and detachment. Nishkam Karma Yoga basically means you're doing your prescribed duty with knowledge and with detachment. So just have a look at the different sections and then we move on. Now, in this section, Lord Krishna will explain to Arjuna how one can avoid all reaction, good and bad, by performing one's duty with detachment from result. So, in other words, Lord Krishna is saying, do not, do not work. Do not renounce your work. Do not renounce your action, but renounce your desire for the fruit of the action. Okay, there's a big difference in that. Generally, people understand renunciation, tyaga, means stopping the work. But Krishna clarifies it very well. Do not stop your work. Do your work. Do your duty. Do your prescribed duty. But stop desiring the result of your work. And that is Nishkam Karma Yoga. Now, just to make it more clear, it can get a little confusing and complicated, but that's okay, that's natural. Um, from verse 11 to 30, Krishna was giving the discourse on jnana or knowledge. From 31 to 37, Krishna is talking about karma or work. Now, moving on, Krishna has combined both. So he is talking about working with knowledge and detachment, which is Nishkam Karma Yoga. Kama means desire. Nishkama means not desiring. therefore working without desire for the result. Verse number 38. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva nevam papam avapsyasi. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so you shall never incur sin. So now from verse 37 to 38, you see a change. Till verse number 37, Krishna was pushing Arjuna towards, or you can say giving the allurement of the result. He said you can enjoy the heavens, you can enjoy the earth, and so on. Verse number 38, you find a change. Krishna is talking about a higher principle. He says, you know what? Let do not desire for happiness, because happiness is short lived. Whether on earth or heaven, the happiness is going to come to an end. Therefore, true happiness is when you are not desiring. And a practical application of this verse is that cultivate the attitude of equanimity towards dualities, and that will give true happiness. In the material world, everything is, there's duality, there's heat and cold, there's summer and winter, there's happiness and distress. Everything has two sides, and when you get one, you automatically get the other. Therefore, true happiness is not in desiring, but true happiness is being equal in both dualities. And that's a practical tip which we can, understand from this verse. In other words, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, just fight, do your duty, because as a Kshatriya, your duty is to fight, so fight as a matter of duty. Results, don't think about that. Verse number 39. Esha te bihita sankhye buddhir yoge tvimam shunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen, as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Krita, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. So Lord Krishna is saying that till now I explained to you Sankhya philosophy. Now we are moving on a higher platform. We are moving towards a higher level, and Krishna starts speaking about Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga, the highest perfection of Buddhi Yoga is Bhakti Yoga. And Buddhi Yoga is another term for Nishkam Karma Yoga. So in the beginning stages of Nishkam Karma Yoga, you don't have sufficient knowledge and detachment. But as you progress in Nishkam Karma Yoga, you reach a point where you have complete knowledge and complete detachment. And that point is just the same as Bhakti Yoga. So here, Lord Krishna is saying, when you act in Sakam Karma, there is Karma Bandhan. You are bound by your action. Your action can be good or bad, but there's always a bondage in Sakam Karma. But in Nishkam Karma, when you act for Krishna's pleasure, there is no more bondage. So that is Nishkam Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. The practical application of this is that, remember, Arjuna was giving various arguments not to fight. He was using jnana, knowledge, as a basis to not do the work. But the true right way to go about it is that you use jnana, knowledge, to renounce the desire for the result of your work, not to renounce the work. You never renounce the work. That's the primary message of Gita. You never renounce your work. You do your work, but renounce the fruits of your work, or renounce the desire for fruits of your work. नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्. In this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. You can see on that picture, this is a story from the Srimad Bhagavatam. There was a person named Ajamila. Ajamila was a pious Brahmin. He was born in a great Brahminical family with great spiritual values. Unfortunately, somewhere in his youth, he got attracted to a prostitute. He was passing through a forest and he came across a prostitute embracing a Shudra, making love, and he desired for her, and he fell down from his great elevated Brahminical position. He marries the prostitute, has a number of children. The last child he had, he named that child Narayana on the advice of some sadhus. And in his deathbed, because he led a very sinful life, the Yamadutas came to capture him. The Yamadutas, being very ferocious, scared Ajamila, and Ajamila, out of great fear, he called out the name Narayana because he was attached to his child, whom he had named Narayana. And he, in great anxiety, he calls out to Narayana. And even when that child was, before this time, Ajamil used to very lovingly call his child Narayana because he was attached to that child. Because he took the name of Narayana without offense, with love, with sincere anxiety, he got purified of his sins. And the messengers of Narayana came to his rescue, and the Yamadutas could not take Ajamil. So, because he did little spiritual practice, he was saved at the end of his life. So, the point here is that whatever activity, whatever work you do on the spiritual platform will stay forever in your account. It will never go. While the material activities, you have to complete it. For example, you enroll in an engineering college, you just do 1 or 2 years and you drop out, you won't get a degree. Even if you complete your education, you study up to PhD, you get a PhD degree. And if you die after that, in the next life, that PhD it was not going to be of any use to you. The child is not born with holding a PhD degree. You have to again start from the scratch. You have to go to school, learn ABC, and so on. But the spiritual work that you do will be forever in your account. It will never be lost. And we find that from the story of Ajamila. And even a little work on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What is that fear? The fear of repeated birth and death. So, whatever spiritual work one does is never lost. व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिरेकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखा ह्यनन्तश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. Vyavasayatmika buddhi means one pointed intelligence. In any task that you do, we have this experience in the material world. When you are doing any task, if your mind is focused on that task, you get better result. It's a matter of common sense. So here Lord Krishna says, um, uh, this especially with regards to Krishna consciousness. When you have a strong faith in Krishna consciousness, then that activity will reap good result. While those who don't have that focus on vyavasayatmika, those who don't have vyavasayatmika buddhi, those who don't have the single pointed focus, Their intelligence is split into many branches. It's split into many different places, and they are not able to um, achieve the goal. So here, Lord Krishna doesn't use the word bhakti, but Acharya says that the deeper meaning of this is bhakti. And Prabhupada also says in the purport that the highest explanation of this verse is that one should have strong faith in Krishna consciousness. And and for that, to get the Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, one has to take the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So that's the practical application of this verse is that in any endeavor that you do, material or spiritual, when you are focused on your task, you get the good results of that. Verse number 42 and 43. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadhyantya vipaschita vedavarata partha nanyat astiti vadina kamatmana swargapara janma karma phalapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishwarya gatim prati. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery word of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there's nothing more than this. So in these two verses, Lord Krishna is actually condemning the people who who are after the different Vedic rituals for obtaining various bhoga aishwarya. Bhoga aishwarya, bhoga means enjoyment and aishwarya means wealth. So Lord says that people of small intelligence, they are swayed by the flowery words of the Vedas, which promise various bhoga and aishwarya. The Vedas promise various sakam karma. In fact, there is a whole chapters dedicated to this, which tells you if you want this, if you want a good, beautiful wife, this is the yajna you have to do. This is the austerity you have to do. If you want a lot of wealth, this is what you have to do. And if you want to go to Swarga and enjoy even higher opulence and sense enjoyment, this is what you have to do. So everything is towards sense enjoyment. But this is followed by people who are not so intelligent, because as we said before, everything has a beginning and an end. All these kind of enjoyments are temporary. So um, therefore, Arjuna is discouraged from following the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. Um, In fact, even in the highest planet, Brahmaloka, there's anxiety. You know, the position of Brahma is also temporary. So Brahma also suffers from anxiety. So what to speak of our Earth planet? Indra is always in anxiety because anytime any sage or anybody does tapasya, austerity, Indra is scared that his position will go. Indra is always in anxiety. He is in Swarga. In Swarga, there's 1,000 times more sense enjoyment. So this whole cycle of going after sense pleasures is a futile activity. Verse number 44. भोगैश्वर्यप्रसक्तानां तया पहृतचेतसां व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न vidhiyate. In the mind of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Now, as in the previous verse, the people who are after bhoga and aishwarya, they would not take to the path of devotional service because they are too preoccupied with bhoga, enjoyment, and with wealth and all the other things, material things. And therefore, vyavasayatmika buddhi or one pointed intelligence cannot be found in these people. And they will not attain to samadhi. Samadhau na vidhiyate. And so the practical application of this verse is that, as you can see in the slide, this phrase, physical sensations cheat us of spiritual emotions. This is a statement that I found in um, from the website of His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji. And that's a very apt statement. When you're after physical sensation, physical enjoyment, then you will not be in the mode of spiritual emotion, meaning you're so preoccupied with material things, you will not have any space in your mind or your heart for spiritual emotions. So, such people would always be obsessed with the material things. And the practical application is that when you are aiming for something higher, you have to let go of your lower taste. For example, if somebody is studying for exams, let's say very important exam, and that student has to avoid, has to reject watching too much TV or playing too many video games because those are of a lower level of sense enjoyment. But if his aim is higher, then he has to let go of the lower sense enjoyment. That's a practical application of this. Verse number 45. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigунyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. And as I said previously, the Vedas mainly deal with the subject matter of Sakam Karma. How can we get more and more sense gratification? Um, this is, we are not belittling the Vedas. Vedas are important, but there it has a level. One has to go beyond that. An example of that is that when you're in the kindergarten, you learn A, B, C, D alphabets. But are you always stuck in the kindergarten? No, you go to higher and higher classes. For example, a PhD student cannot sit in the kindergarten and learn A, B, C. His level has increased, his level has gone higher. So we are not saying that ABC is wrong. We are not saying that ABC is not important. That's a foundation, that's important, but that is a certain level. But once you mature, you have to go beyond that. Similarly, the Vedas are there for a certain category of people, those who are so much into sense gratification. In order to regulate them, the Vedas have put some regulations. Before there was unregulated sense gratification, so the Vedas say, okay, if you're eating meat, you can eat meat on certain days. You can eat it on Tuesdays and Fridays, whatever. So some regulation is kept on that activity. Previously, there was no regulation. Now there's some regulation. Also, Vedas help people align their life with a higher authority. Previously, they were living completely based on their sense gratification, no regulation, no alignment to some higher power. But now they are at least in a mood to align their life to a higher power, even though it is for a fruitive activity. For example, if somebody wants a lot of wealth, you tell that person, okay, you can do Lakshmi Puja on a certain day, you know. So that when you tell that to that person, then number one, he understands there are higher authorities who can who are in control of the world. It's not him alone who can decide his future. There are higher authorities who are controlling these things. So he aligns his life to those higher authorities. He takes a subservient position. Number two, he can regulate his life. If a person is crazy about money, making more and more money, you tell the person, okay, Friday you get up at 4 o'clock, you take bath and you chant the Lakshmi mantra. I'm just giving a random example. So if that person follows that, he is slowly aligning his life. He is slowly becoming more regulated, and after a long time, that person can slowly move towards bhakti. He can understand the futility of these sense gratificatory things, and slowly he will move towards the higher platform of bhakti. So Vedas, uh, though Vedas deal with within the three modes of sattva, raja, and tamogun, it's for those peoples. But Krishna is telling Arjuna, you have to go beyond these. You have to go beyond even sattva gun. So when you're in the path of karma yoga, you are in the mode of rajogun. When you are in the path of jnana yoga, you are in the mode of sattva gun. So there is a place for those things, but ultimately one has to go beyond the three gunas, and that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna. And one has to be free from dualities and be fixed in the pure state. And Krishna is telling Arjuna, you don't worry about your yoga and kshema. Yoga, kshema, atmavan. Atmavan means somebody who is situated in the platform of Atma, who is not identified with his body. So a person who is not identified with the body, who is identified with the Atma, is Atmavan, and that person does not unnecessarily worry about his self sustenance, yoga kshema. So we have covered from verse number 38 to 45, and this is the first part of this section. The second part we will do after this. I hope that it has made some sense what we have discussed so far. We have discussed mainly Buddhi Yoga and Nishkam Karma Yoga. And stay tuned. Thank you. Hare Krishna.